What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at the 2024 Dodge Hornet. This particular one is the RT Plus Blacktop E all-wheel drive, finished in Blue Bayou. MSRP is $53,000. So let's get right into this Italian-built crossover hybrid. Underneath the hood of the Dodge Hornet RT, you're going to find the 1.3 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged hybrid engine. Net horsepower is about 288 with 199 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, sending the power to all 4 wheels. Curb weight is around 4,100 pounds, towing capacity is 2,000 pounds, and payload capacity is 1,200 pounds. This can do 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds. Total MPG is going to be around 30, running on the 11.2 gallon fuel tank. The MPGe is rated at 77. And then this features a 306 volt lithium ion battery pack, and also has power shot, which will add 30 horsepower from the rear electric motor for about 15 seconds while driving. Overall length is 178 inches with a wheelbase at 103.8. Height is 63 inches with width at 82 inches. Moving on to the exterior design now with the Dodge Hornet RT. This is a pretty sporty looking compact crossover, especially in this blue color. It really pops. You have a nice set of dark colors for these LED headlights. Fades very well to the upper grille with the Dodge logo right in the center. You can see openings throughout it to allow cooling to the radiators with a forward-facing camera. Pretty large opening down below in the lower portion of the front bumper with a safety sensor along with all of your parking sensors. You have a nice gloss trim piece along the side with more sensors, and then pretty sharp body lines throughout the lower portion of the front end. This definitely does have the Dodge look to it, kind of like a Challenger crammed into a smaller crossover. So you can definitely see some nice sharp lines throughout it. We have the heat extraction vents up on top with some sharp lines throughout the hood. This car is based on the Alfa Romeo Tonale, so you're going to see kind of a similar overall design from that car. As you make our way to the side profile, I really like the gunmetal gray trim on the lower portion of the front bumper that makes its way into these front fender arches. And we also have a similar color along these wheels. You can see the Dodge logo right in the center, as well as the silver brake caliper up in the front. And then we have the gloss black Hornet logo on this front fender. You're also going to see the body color door handles, gloss black mirror caps with an integrated turn signal, as well as a side view camera. More gloss black trim surrounding all of the windows. And then up on top, we have a pretty massive sunroof. You can see the shark fin antenna in back. And then for the overall side profile, you can tell it's a nice smaller size crossover with sporty lines and nice body line throughout the center portion. And I like how above the door handles you can see that sharp line cutting into these taillights. You can definitely see the Italian design throughout this crossover. Spoiler in back with your third brake light, some gloss black trim, and then a really nice set of LED taillights. You can see all the sculpture making its way down to the lower portion of the bumper with more of that gray color exhaust tip, as well as the parking sensors, and then you can see all the black trim down below. We have the blacked out RT logo, a better look at that one massive LED taillight, which has a really cool look to it. And I really like how the overall lines just curve together well in back. Moving on to the key fob, we get lock, unlock, remote tailgate along with the remote start, Dodge logo written on it, keeping the car locked. All you got to do is grab the door handle, it'll automatically unlock, and we can take a look at this red leather interior. Really nice design with black contrast, as well as some silver trim all throughout. Taking a look at the door panel, finished off in black. We have this black leather material throughout the armrest and the insert, a nice aluminum release handle. We have the memory seating, lock and unlock, part of the Harman Kardon audio system, window controls, mirror controls, and then a speaker up in front. You're going to see all your power controls on the left side of the seat, and then I really like the red leather. It has nice perforations throughout the center, red stitching along it, and pretty nice bolsters to make these look pretty sporty. Got the Dodge logo up on the headrest as well, and then a black leather steering wheel with a 3-spoke design. And then now inside the Dodge Hornet, keep my foot on the brake. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Taking a look at the gauge cluster now, this is a full LCD display. You can see we have the speedometer on the top as well as the left, fuel, and then your range over on that right side. If I go ahead and toggle this icon right here, you can scroll through a few things in the center. You can see right now we have the engine along with the battery. You can continue down to your brake and acceleration. Of course, your speedometer will pop up. You can have navigation on here as well, performance data, things like that, driver's assistance. So pretty nice overall the way it's laid out. We have the e-drive modes over here. So if I toggle this, you're gonna see the electric mode. You can also go into the e-save and then into the hybrid mode. So a good blend between all the different drive modes. We also have a sport icon over here. If I go ahead and press that, you can see how it changes a little bit on that gauge cluster. The different drive modes, of course, will affect how it's gonna be. Hybrid will use a combination, electric is full EV, and then e-save will really save that battery and charge it up. Taking a look at the steering wheel now, we got the Dodge logo in the center, somewhat of a flat bottom design. Cruise control settings on the left side with the steering intervention, and then on the right side we have volume controls as well as some Bluetooth and audio. We have a nice set of steering wheel mounted paddle shifters just like you'd find in like an Alfa Romeo Giulia, so pretty cool to see all that. Stock on the right side for all the windshield wipers, and then on the left side you can see the turn signal stock along with the high beams. Down below on the left side of the steering wheel we have some headlight controls down here, fuel release, some of that leather and contrast stitching, and then some black contrast throughout this dashboard. You're also gonna see more of the stitching design, pretty cool layout overall, and then moving to the center infotainment screen. You have a nice design. Your home menu, you can of course adjust, add different items in here to really customize everything. We have the media icon with everything you're able to adjust, all of your climate control settings, navigation, phone integration, and then going under vehicle, you can see a few more things. We have the surround view camera. If we go in here, you can see the top down with a front view, and then of course you can toggle everything, see all sorts of different views within the car. If I go ahead and put it into reverse now, you're gonna see that backup camera popping up. So pretty nice design to see all that. And then underneath all that, we have two of your air vents with your hazards and physical climate controls. We have fan speed in the center, defrost, as well as your temperature. And then down below, you're gonna see we have a 12 volt, some USB ports, wireless phone charging, your two buttons on the left, shifter in the center with your volume icon on the right, along with your electronic park and brake. And then down below we have some parking items. You can see the smart park as well as the ESC off. Now we have two cup holders in the center with some nice silver trim throughout it, red stitching on the center armrest, and if you slide it back you have a little bit better access into here, and then we can open that up and you get a little bit of storage. Glove box on the right side has a pretty good amount of space as you would expect. And then one last look at the interior. Virtually identical to the Alfa Romeo, just slightly different in here, but you can definitely tell it has a pretty nice interior vibe going. Pretty cool use of materials, nice sunroof shade up on top as well. And you can see all of your dome light controls, sunroof shade as well, and then we have garage door buttons right on the top. Moving on to the rear seat space, if I grab the door handle, open it up, you're gonna see pretty much the same interior back here. You have this nice vinyl material along the armrest with contrast stitching, and then all the red along these seats. This can seat 3 people back here. Pretty nice looking seats, and you have a few amenities like your climate control vents, 2 USB ports, a little bit of storage down here, and then in the center we can pull that down and you have 2 cup holders, a nice armrest, and then you can grab the strap over here, pull this lever down, and these seats will fold down pretty flat, giving you better access into the cargo area. So hopping now in the back seat of the Dodge Hornet, you can tell this is on the smaller side. You know, at 5'11", my knees are touching the seat with the seat set at my height. So it is definitely a smaller crossover. My head is just barely touching the ceiling with my hair basically. Decent sized window over here. The recline is at a pretty good angle, but it is on the small side. I mean, you could go on a decent little trip back here, but for a family SUV, obviously this is pretty small compared to something a little bit larger. But in a pinch, you know, it's not too bad back here for at least some full-grown adults. Moving on to the cargo area, you can double tap the button on the key fob or just grab the one under here by the backup camera. Press on that once, it's going to automatically pop open. You have a pretty nice and squared off cargo area, and you can also see how that middle seat will have access into here. And then down below on the floor, if we lift this up, we have a little bit of cargo space in here. And then closing it down, it does lock up with these little push pins. You have a hook and a light on one side, and then a 12 over on the left side. And I also like the addition to the privacy cover. And then if we go through this side, let's go ahead and fold down the one seat, and you'll be able to take a look at how much extra storage space you're gonna get once you fold all the seats down. All right, setting off now. So in sport mode, using the paddles, this is kind of a peppy little car. It's not crazy fast or anything like that. If you want to use the power shot, you hold the paddles, you get a little turbo logo up there, and that gives us an extra 30 horsepower. From that rear motor. So kind of cool to see. You're not going to be like blown away, you know, it's not going to blow your socks off or anything, but cool to see a little bit of a fun factor in this car. So drive modes, hybrid mode basically uses a blend of the engine and the electronics. And then of course you can go into full electric mode. I have 3 miles of range right now, but we're in pure EV now. You can drive like an electric car. E-Save is basically the best way to then charge up the battery system. So one thing, this car is 53 grand, so it's not cheap. It does drive very nice. So normal driving right now, it's super smooth. You don't really hear much wind noise or road noise or anything like that. It's a pleasant place to be, great visibility, and honestly it handles pretty well, taking some sweepers around 50 miles an hour. I mean, it's a confident crossover. It's nothing crazy. The steering's nice and heavy, pretty direct as well. So it seems like a nice place to be. You have a good view out the windshield. Mirrors all do a great job. Visibility overall is pretty good over your left and right shoulder. So I really can't complain with anything like that. For seat comfort, these are also really comfortable to be in. I think you can tell this is on the smaller side, like just the maneuvers and everything at 5'11". I feel like I'm almost at the tallest point of being comfortable in here. Like the way the seatbelt is, it only goes so high and it kind of feels like it's on my shoulder instead of closer to my neck. So I feel like if you're really tall, this might not be the right car for you. I feel like I'm just kind of borderline too tall for it. You can get everything into a comfortable position. It's only so big in here. You know, it's not that big of a car. So you might run into cramped situations depending on how tall you are. But overall normal driving, it does feel like a pretty nice place to be. If I go into the hybrid mode, kind of your normal mode, giving it some gas, you know, the transmission's pretty responsive and it's pretty quick overall. Feels like it's pretty good build quality as well. You know, this is an Italian car. This isn't just a Dodge. At the end of the day, is the Alfa Romeo. But getting up, it's got a good amount of pep to its step with that electronic system and the turbo engine. But it feels pretty solid going over those train tracks back there. You know, it feels like a pretty solid car to drive. Nothing really loose. It feels well weighted, and it weighs over 4,000, so you would kind of expect it to feel pretty solid. But overall driving, you know, it's a nice place to be. You have a good amount of tech. It's easy to use while driving, and I think the drive modes do a great job at letting you have a few different versions of the car all in one vehicle. And it's pretty well rounded. Not crazy fast for the price. However, it's a pretty nice car to be in with decent efficiency. So on to my honest thoughts with the Dodge Hornet. This is basically the fully loaded top of the line one. It's definitely a good chunk of change. You know, 53 grand, if you can afford a car at this price point, you're not settling. You can afford to buy a nice car if you can buy a $50,000 car. And there are cars from the European brands, you know, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, that you can buy that are similar in size to this, and yet they're gonna have a different badge. So it's a little hard to go for the Dodge when you could get a nice BMW or Audi for the same money. However, I think the way to look at this car is realistically, this is an Alfa Romeo, just happens to have the Dodge logos on it. When you look at the Alfa Romeo Tonale, if that's how you pronounce it, it kind of is the same car as this, and even price point is about identical. So kind of interesting to see that. It is fun to zip around in this car. The transmission's super responsive, especially with the paddle shifters. So it's a fun like city crossover to just kind of dart around, do what you need to do. It's got that sporty aspect to it to where it can be fun to drive. And I'm not having any issues with it not being a fun little car to drive around in. If we do change the drive modes and everything, hybrid mode, it's a relaxed car to drive. The build quality, like I said, it does feel really nice. So it doesn't just feel like a cheap little Dodge crossover. It feels like a nice place to be. And you can feel kind of that European refinement to it, given this is built in Italy. So, you know, like I said, essentially this is just the Alfa Romeo with a different steering wheel logo and different air vents from the interior at least. So it feels nice. It feels like a nice car to be in. It doesn't feel like a cheap car. So I think they can kind of justify the pricing. I wouldn't mind maybe more performance for the money, given for 50 grand. I mean, you can probably get a 6-cylinder in a BMW or an Audi of some sort and get maybe closer to 400 horsepower, or at least 350. So I wouldn't mind it being maybe faster, more performance focused for the price. But given you have the whole hybrid system and everything, and the ride quality is really nice, it does feel like a pretty cool place to be. And then if we toggle us into electric mode, I like how it truly does let you drive in electric mode. I know some of these like plug-in hybrid type of cars, they don't really let you do that. However, this one, we're purely in EV mode right now. It's not fast at all. Like, I'm flooring it and we are hardly accelerating, but and we're about at 0 range now, so the battery is about to die. So going into e-save, that's going to be the best way to charge it up. Let's see in the next mile or so if we can charge that back up a little bit. But in electric mode, it's nice to be able to zip around a parking lot, maybe your neighborhood or something small, just zip around. And when you're in the hybrid mode, kind of a default setting, it's going to let the car kind of do the EV mode in the slow speed and then use the engine when it needs to. So it seems like it does a pretty good job kind of playing with the gas versus electric to make it pretty decently efficient. If I scroll through to kind of look at my own MPG, I wouldn't say you're going to be getting like the most amazing MPG in this car. Looks like I'm averaging about 30, so not bad, but again, being a smaller car with a 4-cylinder, that's kind of what you might expect anyways. However, I've seen smaller 4-cylinders getting 15 anyway, so I guess it's pretty efficient for what it is. It kind of gives you a good blend of everything. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing is just going to be the ride quality. It does feel like a nice car. It's not just a cheap little Dodge. I think that's the biggest thing that surprised me. So overall, if you're looking for kind of that cool, sporty, fun little crossover with that hybrid technology, you know, the Hornet could be something to take into consideration. It kind of gives you a good blend. And if we go back and do sport mode and everything, manual, play with it a little bit. It's got a nice little engine tone to it with that hybrid buzzing noise on top of it. So it's got some fun characteristics. Alright, so I think that is then it for the 2024, I was about to call this the Alfa Romeo, 2024 Dodge Hornet RT Blacktop. You know, it'd be interesting to compare this directly with the Alfa, given it's, I'm pretty sure, the exact same car. However, you know, the Dodge one, you got some cool aspects to it, sportier exterior and everything like that. And definitely the hybrid system is a pretty cool option. So if you're interested in a cool crossover, take a look at this one for sure. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you on the next video.